About 10 years ago, you had $78 in your account.
I was by the side of the road back in November 2014. You can pass that around.
78.80.
That's insane. $78.
Suffering is your best teacher. Every millionaire or billionaire that I know, when I text them, they immediately text me back. And actually, you know what? Let's call them.
I wake up every single morning and I'm like, dude, you're so broke. And I'm wondering, does that ever change?
No. Imagine if I have to sell my Rolls Royce and get the most expensive Mercedes S-Class. What will people say? Man, what the fuck happened to Vick?
Wow.
It's true.
There's so many people out there that are entrepreneurs. They're almost like entrepreneurs. The worst thing for them is a plan B.
Success teaches you nothing. It's suffering. You got to almost kind of welcome it.
Vic, if me and you were to die tomorrow and you could leave one more guiding principle and message for the younger generation, what would that be?
Wow, that's a heavy one, bro. That's a lot.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the School of Hard Knocks podcast. I'm James. I'm here with Jack and Josh, and we have an incredible guest for you all today. We are out in Tampa, Florida, with the healthcare mogul, Vick Tipnes. My man, Vick, it's great to be here with you today, my friend. You know, for the people that don't know, right, a lot of people in today's world, they're focused on getting rich off AI, getting rich off real estate.
Yeah.
Man, you built an empire building the largest sleep medical device testing company in the entire country now.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. It's unfathomable to even think about the different ways to get rich, and you found this niche and you went all in. But where I want to get things started today is about 10 years ago, right? You had $78 in your account. I want you to put it in perspective for us and the viewers watching right now. The last time you looked at your bank account and you saw $78, what was that most fundamental decision that you made in that moment that changed your life for the rest of your life?
Well, so, and thank you for that. So, yeah, funny enough, I was actually showing somebody there. I don't know how my phone is, but have you guys seen my screenshot I posted on Instagram?
We got to have him pull it up.
You mean pull it up?
We got to have him pull this up.
So I was having dinner at my house the other night, and I was telling somebody about this. I was like, hey, they were like, well, what happened? And I'm like, I was by the side of the road back in, this was November of 2014, okay? And I started Blackstone in 2012. And I was on the side of the road, but probably my lowest point. And look at the date on that. You can pass that around if you want.
That's insane.
Right.
$78.
And this was my available balance. So that means I had like stuff coming through. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it was a net. And this was November 25th, 2014. So coming into 2015, I was basically at $78. And I took a picture of it really at that time. I'm like, okay, like this is not, I can't do this, right? But I think what it illustrated for me at the time was, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this, is like everything in the physical universe, all the factors are kind of telling you to quit, right? There's no silver bullet, right? There's nothing that's like taking you out and you're done, but everything looks pretty bleak. And it's at that moment that you got to make a decision. Okay, are you going to double down and go all in, or are you going to quit? And so for me, it was like, I mean, first of all, I'm at $78. Like, it doesn't get more worse than that. Like, the person working at Chick-fil-A is making more money than me. True story,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, okay, it doesn't get any worse. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to double down. And I took that picture as kind of like a reminder to myself, like, hey, man, like, no matter where I go from here, it can't get worse than this.
And so going into 2015, which was a couple months after that screenshot was taken, what was the first kind of actionable step that you take? Did you have a realization that you wanted to start your own business and do that? Like, did you have any influential people in your life, any role models that you kind of had looked up to and studied? Did you just go out and try to find jobs? Like, what was next after that?
Nothing, dude. I was nobody. I'm in 2015. I wasn't even on social media in 2015. So I'm like nobody. I had no brand. I had nothing. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody that I could call. I was on my own from a family perspective. Both my parents passed away when I was in my early 20s, so I was kind of on my own. So there was no lifeline. You know, it wasn't like If it doesn't work out, I can go, crash on mom's couch. Like, I didn't even have that option. And I'm not saying that, because I want anyone to feel sorry for me. There's probably people out there that have had significantly worse stories than me, but I was literally like, it was feast or famine. I mean, I didn't have anything else to fall back on. I had no college degree. I don't have a trade. I got a high school diploma. And so for me, it was like, all right, I got to double down on this thing and make it work. And, I'd already started Blackstone in 2012. So, we were losing money every month. We're always robbing Peter to pay Paul type of thing and trying to take $5,000 from here. And, dude, I'm the master of turning $8,000 into 80. Like, I can turn $8,000 into 80, and I had to use those muscles. I had to like do stuff that I wasn't comfortable with or wasn't popular. And, I wasn't on social media. I didn't have a brand. So it was like, if I didn't make it, it wasn't like anyone was going to miss me. It was just, I would have been another casualty. Right. But I was kind of determined not to.
It's like there's so many people out there that are entrepreneurs. They're almost like entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing for them is a plan B.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I have my safety net. I can fall back on it.
Yeah.
When you strip that away and you have that kind of like, I have to give this my all mentality. I don't care if I go broke and go to zero doing this. Like, it's almost like that drive and that lack of a safety net is what propels you to like have that hunger forward.
Yeah. You burn the ships.
Got to burn the boats.
You got to burn the boats.
Got to burn the boats. My question for you is, why did you settle on health? Like why was healthcare your vehicle that you picked? How did you get into, testing, especially in the sleep regard, that the devices? How did you get into that? How'd you get started? What was kind of the journey behind that?
So, both my parents passed away of cancer when I was in my early 20s. So I had been introduced to the healthcare field by that. And so what I noticed in my observation was like the customer service part of healthcare wasn't there. And so I was like, healthcare, look, you have people that have been diagnosed with something that may be life-threatening or may just be of high concern, and they're worried. And so if you go into a healthcare facility and the person just kind of treats you like a number and is like, well, here's this and fill this out and blah, 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 it kind of takes the human kind of compassion out of healthcare. And so that kind of made me feel like I could get into healthcare and do something different. And that's what really got me into Blackstone, which was, and even prior to that was, radiology. I had a radiology startup. I was the youngest owner of a radiology practice in the country, built it up, sold it for $9 million, didn't make any money, started all over again. And then getting into Blackstone was, again, kind of the same thing. Like somebody said, hey, there's this testing thing. People want to be tested in the home as opposed to going to the hospital or a facility. And I was like, oh, I can do something with this. So I quit my job because I quit the job that I was working for the company that bought me out. And I called the owner, who I'm great friends with today. That's a whole nother story. And he was the first guy that I flown on a private jet with. And I called him up and I said, hey, I want 6 months severance. Can you give me 6 months severance? I don't have any other money. I want to start this business. And he was like, okay. 20 years later, he flew on my jet to my house in Colombia. 20 years later, 19 years later. Can you believe that?
Hey, what's going on, guys? We're going to be right back to the episode with healthcare mogul Vick Tipnes in just a second, but I wanted to take a second to leave this message with you all that if you're not already subscribed to the Hard Knocks podcast, then you are going to be missing out because every week we're bringing you guys the biggest business owners in the world. And also take a second to share this episode with a friend who you do not want to miss this episode and the game that is being dropped. With that being said, let's get back to the episode. You mentioned that you had built and sold a radiation company? Radiology company for $9 million, but you didn't make a lot of money off that sale.
No.
Was there just a ton of different partners in the business? We see that happen a lot in today's world. Going back, what lesson did you kind of take from that you give to entrepreneurs that are looking to raise capital in today's world?
So I think where I messed up was I had the wrong partners. Number one, they weren't bad people. They were just not right for this business. And then I also took on a lot of personal guarantees that I shouldn't have took on. And I think what happens, and it's really hard to not fall into this trap. You got to try your best not to, but when you first start making money, you just think it's never going to end. And you just think like nothing can affect you and nothing can hurt you. And, you know, you hear Trump talk about it, you know, when in the 80s he was just winning, everything he touched turned to gold, and then boom, you know. And I think you got to kind of prepare for that, because it doesn't mean that you're going to lose everything, but you are at some point going to hit a bad patch. And you got to be, you know, prepared for that and be willing to sustain through. And I think, you know, what happened to me, for example, is I just thought everything I touched was going to turn to gold. And that doesn't necessarily work out all the time. So I think in the beginning, entrepreneurs make that mistake. They're like, okay, everything I touch is good. I'll partner with this person. I'll do this collaboration. I'll do this. I'll do that. And they're not thinking with, well, okay, is this the right person? You know, do they have the right morals, the right philosophy? Or do they have the work ethic? Do they have the ethics? Like, what do they think about business? Kind of like, you know, picking a spouse to marry. So you got to kind of look at it the same way. Unfortunately, this is kind of the bad part, like suffering is your best teacher. Like I could tell you everything, but until you suffer through it, it's really hard to get it sometimes.
Well, it's like people that go to, you know, business school or college and get like an education. It's just like, hey, like they want to go into the business world and they got that business degree, but at the end of the day, and just from stuff that they learned in a textbook, but I'm like, man, you don't know how to run a business for squat until you've actually done it, and you've had to fire somebody. You've had to, you know, you've had to go into debt to keep the company alive. Like until you like experience those lessons, you know, you don't know how to run a business.
No, success teaches you nothing. Like success teaches you nothing. Okay, it teach you a few things here and there, but it's suffering. You got to almost kind of welcome it.
I feel like that's like also the best lesson as well. It's like when you have when all of the variables are not in your favor, that's what allows you to grow and figure things out, because that's what makes great entrepreneurs, is people who can adapt.
See, I love that shit, dude. Like when you say that, I get goosebumps. Like that's where entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, that's where they thrive, man. Give me all the bad shit. Like everything. Give me fucking all of it.
What's the Elon Musk quote? Where he got it from somebody else, I think. But entrepreneurship's like eating glass
It's
and
eating
staring
glass.
into the abyss.
Yeah.
Because as the CEO, you have to take on the worst shit in the company possible.
Yeah.
Well, I got another one for you. That was the Elon one, and then I just did one with Vick.
Yeah.
He sold a big software company, owns the Sacramento Kings, and he said it's chewing cactus.
Chewing cactus.
For a long period of time. And you got to suffer through it, man. It could be sometimes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
One of my favorite stories is the story of Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
And he's like, I started out with the sandwich shop, and I didn't have any money for advertising, and I couldn't afford to get the A location.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I got the C location, and I walked into all the local businesses and started to make myself familiar. And I realized, what is no one else doing around me? Delivery. And so that's where like the freaky fast delivery, like their signature tagline is, he's like, look, no one else is going to be able to deliver, but I also
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was what got his business off the ground, was not because he had a great location, but is because he was delivering when no one else would.
Wow.
So it's like turning that variable of, hey, this is why I can lose, into actually my greatest asset of why I should win.
Yeah.
Vic, what do you think was the number one thing? I know that you mentioned like for people in the healthcare system, they walk in and like they're not really treated like there's a ton of care. What were some of those key things that you feel like your company did in your market in order to stand out and be a leader in the industry?
Well, I think, we really just focused on service, and I hate to give you like a kind of bland answer, but it's really that. It's just caring about what you're doing. Right? Caring about answering the phone call, caring about making sure you're taking whatever concern the person has and you're following through. That may sound easy, like, oh, everybody can. That is so hard to do. Like, how many times have you gone to a new restaurant when they just opened and the service is amazing, right? And then you go back to the seat, you guys are all nodding your head. So that means like every time I bring this up, everybody like is like, yeah. 6 months later, you go back to the same restaurant, service is bad.
Why do you think that is?
Because people don't understand how to execute on service. Like service is a lost art. Like, you go back to the same, you go to the first restaurant, first time, the hostess is nice. They bring you the bread and they're this and that, great. And hey, you're waiting a little bit for your order. Here's a little thing from the chef and da-da-da-da. And you're like, oh, this place is great. You go back, the host is gone or somebody rude. They bring you down, then you're sitting waiting, and you're like, where's the bread? Oh, no, now we're charging for the bread. And then the next thing you know, you're like, I don't want to go back to this place anymore.
Yep.
And it's like, it's not that hard, but it takes a commitment, man. I got to tell you, like, it starts from the top, right? So when you're an entrepreneur, regardless of the size of the company, if the CEO is not really that type of person, that they're big on service, and they don't pay attention to those things. Like I was at a healthcare place the other day, and the girl answered the phone, and as soon as they answered the phone, she says, please hold for a brief moment, right? Okay, if that was my company, I would have been like, no, you don't do that. First of all, they could be calling just because they're late. They could be calling just because they need a phone number. They could be calling just to let you know something. Just say, hey, how can I help you? If it's something long, then tell them, hey, can you hold for a second? I have somebody in front of me. But if somebody calls, just say, hey, what can I help you? Oh, I just need your phone number. Oh, blah, blah, I need your fax number. Oh, okay, Okay, cool. Hang up the phone, right? But that's the nuance. That's the nuance of caring enough to be like, hey, let me provide great customer service. Like you're never going to call here and somebody's going to say, oh, hey, hold on for like, boom, hold on. And that's part of it.
Yeah, I love that you talk about how it starts from the top down, and this idea of service. It doesn't matter what business we're talking about, whether it's restaurants. I was talking about it. We just recently did another interview with a gentleman in Dallas. Going to a bowling alley, and like, you go in there, and the people up there, they just are treating you flat out like shit. Yeah. And you're going to remember that. So that way, the next time that you have to make a decision on whether you should go to that restaurant or that Top Golf or that bowling alley, if you remember, like, you're going to be like, man, I remember last time I went there, let's go to the other one. And so knowing that it kind of starts from the top down, what are some of those things that you instill in all the team members, or, that you pass down to lower level leaderships, that then to all the members in the company, so that way that service is consistent from start to finish of the customer experience? So
I think you got to do it. Like, I think, like, when I go to the offices and I walk around and stuff, I take my team with me, and I show them. Like, I show them. I'm like, hey, let's not do this. Let's listen to this person's call, and she shouldn't do that. Well, why not? Well, because this is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to sound, and it's not providing the best service. And so I don't think you can do it in a policy. Like, as a company, we have a policy that says, hey, you got to return phone calls in 24 hours. You got to return emails within 24 hours. You can't just put people on hold, blah, 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 blah. But then that just kind of goes and sits on a shelf. So I think what has to happen is the owner, the entrepreneur, has got to get involved and show through example, like, hey, don't do this, and this is why. Be, intimate in the floor. And I remember, the CEO of Delta, for example, at one point, this was, maybe 10 years ago, he would listen to customer service calls, and he would critique people, and he would get with his managers, bring them all in, and say, hey, look, this can't happen, and this is why. It takes that. And that's why it's so hard, because who wants to do that, honestly, right? Like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're making money and you're successful, you'd be like, I'm making enough money. Like, it's a laziness component, and it takes that level of kind of obsessiveness to say, I don't want it like this, and you got to do that every day.
I think we were just having this conversation the other day, is that a lot of times being a great owner means doing the unscalable, doing the unsexy. Yeah. As well as when you have those key players, is keeping in touch with them. And it's like, even though as you grow as an organization, you go from 10 to 20 to, even 100, those key players, like, I feel like a lot of the buy-in actually comes from their relationship with the owner.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm kind of curious for you, like, as you scale your company, how do you continue to maintain team culture in that buy-in where someone doesn't just feel like another number in the company?
Because you have, 600-700 employees now? Yeah. Something like that?
Yeah, over 600. In, North America, South America. We have offices here in New York. I think, first of all, like, if I'll give you kind of this full rounded answer, right? So people want to work for a person, not a company. So would you rather go work for Richard Branson or Delta?
Richard Branson.
Right. Would you rather go work for, United Airlines or SpaceX? Now, the reason you'd rather go work for SpaceX is you have even though you may or may not know the individual, a personal connection with the founder. right? Maybe if just even from an ideology perspective, like, hey, I resonate with Richard Branson, for example. I'll go to war with that guy. People don't say that about a company. Look at Apple. It was Steve Jobs. So you can't replace the fact that people in general, from a human DNA perspective, want to have a relationship with another person. They don't want to have a relationship with an object. They want to have a relationship with a person. So kind of, dovetailing into your answer, it's kind of like, people that work here have a personal connection with me. And if they don't have a personal connection with me, from a symbolism perspective, they like what I stand for. And they're like, hey, this guy likes this. He stands for this. He's about that. I like that. Okay. What does the CEO of Delta stand for? I don't even know his name. You don't know his family. You don't know anything. You don't know what he stands for. You don't know what the hell's going on. So there's no personal connection.
And there's such a lesson here as well. We were just seeing a clip about this the other day. That take the big airline CEOs. You only know one of them, and he's the only one that's a billionaire because he has that brand behind him. How important is that personal branding aspect as the owner, the business owner of the company, when attracting people and growing the business in general?
It's galactic. I mean, it's galactic. Like, it's that big. Well, to your point, like, he's the only one that's worth the most. And he's the only one that has a personal brand. He has a brand. It's a real brand, personal, business, to me, it all meshes together. There's no separateness in that, right? But it's every successful company that is really, worth millions or billions of dollars. It's that's the differentiator. And if you have that, why not exploit it?
So one of the things you mentioned you differentiated was with service. But I want to go back to some of those trench years, we'll call them. What was that fundamental moment that you had at Blackstone in the company, whether it was 2015, was it like a big client that you had, a marketing event that took place? What was that big moment
made it flip?
That became profitable, yeah.
So in 2019, we had a competitor of ours file for bankruptcy. And this is interesting. So I won't say names, so I don't want to get sued. So anyway, so they filed for bankruptcy, and their CEO got on a call with all their salespeople and said, "Hey, we're filing for bankruptcy. We only have 2 months worth of finances left. Go find another job." So he essentially let them out of their non-compete. So I found out about this, and everybody in my world was trying to buy the company. And I was like, why? Like, I'm thinking, why buy the company? Just let me hire all the sales reps. So I had the VP of sales that was working for me at the time call their VP of sales and said, "Hey, Vick wants to meet with you. We'll fly you down to Tampa. We want to have a meeting with you." So he was like, "Okay, cool." And I said, "Hey, look, only come down if you're ready to make a deal." And he was like, "Okay." So the guy comes down, I meet with him, and I'm like, "Okay, dude, here's the deal. Like, I want to hire you. I'll pay you the same money you're making now. You can, you don't have to move, nothing, blah, blah, blah. But I need all of the best salespeople that work for that company to come on board with you. If you bring them on board, I'll hire you and take care of you, blah, blah, basically." And he was like, "Okay, but I need to let me go back home, talk to my wife." I said, no, dude, it ain't going to work like that today. I said, "We're either making a deal today or there's no deal." And it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. So I said, "Look, you can get on a video chat with your wife. You can go back to the hotel, talk to your wife, discuss it with her, let her know this is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. You guys make a decision. I'm going to have somebody pick you up at 5:30 p.m. tonight at your hotel. When he gets to your hotel, he needs to send me a screenshot of the signed agreement." And he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, he needs to send me a screenshot. I'm going to be at Capitol Grill at 6:00. If he sends me the screenshot, he's going to drive you to Capitol Grill. If you don't send me no screenshot, he's going to take you to Chick-fil-A. He's going to get you dinner, and then you're going to go back home the next day. And by the way, I'm still going to hire all the reps. So I like, it's regardless of whatever you think, like, it's still going to happen because there was nobody else that was available to pick them all up. So I kind of knew that. So I wasn't going to like, I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but that was kind of what I was like, it's going to happen regardless. So sure enough, I went to Capitol Grill and I'm sitting there and it's like 5:30, 5:35 and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to get that screenshot, man. And then sure enough, like ding, got the screenshot. Boom, he came in. We had dinner, celebrated the win, signed the agreement, done. He flew back, and then within a month, I'd hired 80% of their sales force throughout the country, and then I was the biggest. I instantly that next month we were the biggest in the country.
What kind of gave you the drive to kind of put that guy in, like, let's say that ultimatum to like to join the force? Because what I liked about that story is like you were determined to. You're like, I'm doing this one way or another.
Yeah.
Like, you let me know today.
Yeah.
Where does that? Because I feel like so many entrepreneurs lack that. Like that's what separates the the sharks from like the guppies in the water.
Well, look, I'll tell you that every millionaire or billionaire that I know, that when I text them, they immediately text me back. Like, and no matter what, like I got a guy that I know is like worth like billions, and if I FaceTime him right now, I guarantee he'll answer a call, or he'll call and he'll be, actually, you know what? Let's call him. He's got to be. You should have this guy on your thing. Yo. So I'm in a podcast with you're gonna know this guy, right? No. The School of Hard Knocks.
You're the guy that goes around and says, "Hey, how are you?"
Yes, sir. How are you, sir? Hey, we're doing a live podcast right now, and Vic mentioned that all the millionaires and billionaires that he knows, when he texts or calls, they answer because money loves speed. You have to be quick. You have to be there.
On top of things always.
So Vic,
yeah,
ask him for a piece of advice to share with that people that want to be worth hundreds of millions and billions of dollars one day.
Yeah. So all right. So what I told him, Frank, was I said every millionaire, billionaire, and I won't call you a millionaire because it's offensive, but every billionaire that I know, when I call them or text them, and they immediately respond. Either they pick up, answer, or they're busy. And I said, very successful people don't allow time to enter things. So I said, hey, I guarantee you, if I FaceTime Frank right now, I guarantee you he's either going to answer or he's going to tell me he's busy. And sure enough, you answered. Okay, so the whole premise is that. So give these guys some wisdom from how successful people operate.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Time is on your side. It will prevail. Keep going. If you fail, it's just another day. Keep going. You will eventually win. You just got to be persistent. Mm-hmm. It will happen. You got to put in the time. There is no quick get rich, get fast. I mean, look at Vic. Years and years of proceeding, and he's there. This goes for everybody. Everybody's looking for that quick, money. It doesn't happen. You got to put in the time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and how many employees do you have, Frank? 40, how many?
At this point, who even knows? We're well over 20,000, I think.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right, bro. I'll hit you later. Peace. See ya.
Have fun.
You too. Bye.
20,000 employees and he can answer a FaceTime. It's incredible.
That's my point. That's my point. Like, yeah, the real estate that this is crazy. Anyway,
I love what he said about the everybody wants that instant gratification about like, oh, I got this idea, so I'm going to start it, and I want the fancy car tomorrow, I want the jet tomorrow, I want the big house tomorrow, and they're not willing to like put in the actual time and sweat and tears to actually make it happen. Like I look at your story, for example, you're showing us a screenshot from 2014 with $78 in the account, and I think when James asked you when was that big turning point, I think the year you mentioned was like 2019, 2019. It's a 5-year gap.
It's a long time. How many people are willing to suffer through that? So to your question though, the thing that successful people do, and this is a perfect example, they take time out of the equation, man. Like you text a successful person and they're either like, yes, no, I don't want it, I do want it, fuck off, whatever. Intentional. They're not like, I don't know. I'm super busy. Let me circle
Decisive.
back. They're decisive,
which
man.
which I think has become a very big learning lesson for us in the last couple of months. Jack, I'll let you prop this up and get some advice from Vic on this, because what's with all that's going on, one of the biggest things that the three of us have maybe been a bottleneck.
Well, it's like, like I said, we got to 60 employees, and that's nothing.
That's
compared
great,
to,
man.
It's nothing compared to 20,000, but for a young media company, that's pretty solid.
No, that's really good.
1.5 million in monthly revenue. 1.5 million in monthly revenue. So yeah,
Dude, you're so far ahead of everybody. It's
So
not even funny.
we're getting there, but we try not to think that way. We try to think like we're just getting started. But I was telling them, it's like, man, with all the different verticals that we have now within the company, I was like, man, this business is only going to move as fast as the speed in which we can make decisions about things that we have going on.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're not going to be able to add new ventures. We're not going to be able to do new partnerships and deals, because it's like, man, you got so many balls you're juggling in the air trying to make decisions about. It's like, make the decision, close the tab, and move on.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just the biggest thing I think this year, or over the last like 3-4 months, that the three of us have had to level up as entrepreneurs, to be like, man, you got to learn how to make fucking decisions, man.
Yep.
You got to like
Fast. And I think there's this fear that you'll make the wrong one. And what I'll tell you is, like, it's better to be an optimist and wrong than a pessimist and right. Okay. So the speed,
say that one again.
it's better to be an optimist and wrong than a pessimist and right.
I'm stealing that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Right
I was reading the book by not by Jeff Bezos, but it's called The Bezos Letters. And it basically said Bezos used to always make decisions. Like, he wouldn't wait till he had 100% of the information. He'd be like, I think like I'm 70% sure about this. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because waiting is going to cost the business more than just waiting around until, is this the right decision? No, just make it. And if you're wrong, course correct.
Course correct. Absolutely.
One of the things that, the three of us cannot build companies ourselves, right? And he's got 20,000 employees, us 60 employees, and you have upturns and downturns. And earlier you were saying that, look, you have to be prepared for the seasons that things aren't going every way. Things aren't going your way everywhere.
Yeah.
So how do you necessarily prepare yourself and your business for the upturns and the downturns? So that way you can be, a lasting business, not just for, the next year or the year after that.
I think the best way to prepare, man, is to think that somebody's trying to take you out every day. I don't think that you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm going to prepare now. Like, I have this idea, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm thinking that somebody's trying to take me out every fucking day. And again, I don't know, honestly, like, is that the right outlook? I don't know. But everybody that I talk to that is created their own wealth, they still feel the same way.
Mike Rapoli, he's done $12 billion in exits. He sold Body Armor and Smart Water to Coca-Cola, and it just lives in my head when he says, when the big guy on top, when he gets a little comfortable, the starving entrepreneur comes up and eats their lunch. And you were once that starving entrepreneur. You took out the biggest company when I think it was like, was it a hometown or when you were in high school?
Yeah.
Was that same company?
That was the same company. So when they started when I was a senior in high school.
I'm curious for you, like, we, for our age, people would say in our company, like, you guys are doing so well. I wake up every single morning and I'm like, dude, you're so fucking broke.
It's good.
And I'm wondering, does that ever change?
No.
Because I live in like almost fear. Like, I'm doing great on paper, hypothetically, right? But I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, you need to figure it out. Like, your back's against the wall.
No, dude. Like, my Gulfstream's paid off and I still worry. Like, I'm worried. Like, not worried. Yeah, I just feel the same way. But I think it's good. I tried to change it for so many years. But I think that's just the competitiveness and the DNA of an entrepreneur, that you're just like always are like on edge. And there's very rare days that you just kind of like have your face in the sun. You have those moments for sure, otherwise you wouldn't do what you do. But then the rest of it is all eating glass, right? It's pain, but you love it so much. It's like, all right, what else am I going to do? But I think that's the right way to think. I don't think you prepare. I think you wake up every day thinking somebody's trying to eat your lunch.
Do you feel like buying the private jet has made you a lot more money because of you stepping into that frequency?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I got your attention. You know what I mean? Like, right? Like, his first private jet flight was on my jet.
100%. That's right.
So, Yeah, I mean, it money flows to attention, right? Like people want to know who you are. It opens doors, all that type of stuff.
Hey, I'll always remember that too.
Yeah,
I'll always
it's
remember
true.
that. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. So, the thing about it is though, is I think it pushes you. Like, there's a lot of philosophies, about like, should you buy a Lambo when you start making it, and should you do this and do that and all this stuff. And, I think it's a personal, I don't think there's a right and a wrong. What I do think is that you know you, and if something you buy is going to drive you. Okay. So like back in 2017, 18, I think I bought a McLaren. Man, I thought that thing was a Bugatti, bro. Like I thought that was the shit. And I love McLaren, but I was just like, I overextended myself to buy the car, and I bought it on a Friday, and Saturday morning at 7 a.m. I was at the office. And when I got there, I was like, you know what? That was the right decision. Because for me, I can't speak for you or anybody else, but for me, it drove me. It drove me to say, this is now the standard that I never want to go below. Okay? Same thing happened when I bought my Rolls Royce. I now have a standard that I can't go below. Like, imagine if I have to sell my Rolls Royce and get the most expensive Mercedes S-Class. What will people say? Man, what the fuck happened to Vick? What the fuck happened to Vick?
Wow.
It's true. And Mercedes S-Class is an amazing car. But it'll be like, what the fuck happened to Vick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But and another thing too, another thing too that I'm sure that it's also done for you is, if we go back to that day that I had flown on your jet and we did the interview on your jet, you had, I believe, another billionaire that was flying out with you that same day. So the proximity that it enabled you to get, I'm sure, has also just elevated tremendously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because now look, if I call somebody that I want to get to know, and I'm like, hey, let's go on a quick trip, let's fly up to New York, have dinner, come back, they're not going to say no. They're not going to say no. So yeah, it does. But for me, and again, this is different for everybody, but like that standard, it's real, man. It's real, because now you're like, this is the standard. Like, how do you go back from that standard? How do you go back from the standard of having a private jet or flying private?
Josh, would you be able to go back to Fountain Terrace?
I would not.
There you go. So is it
shitty apartment?
There you go. So is it a waste of money? I don't think so. Like, you can't think of everything. This is where I don't agree with a lot of financial gurus. Is you can't quantify every purchase into, does that purchase make sense from a material perspective? Okay, whether it's a tax write-off or not a tax write-off, or it's going to go up in value or not go up in value, is irrelevant. Does it make you feel better every morning when you get up? And does it make you feel like you want to go to war? What's that worth?
I recently interviewed a billionaire out in New York City, Jamie Salter. He owns Authentic Brands. So like he owns, Forever 21, Champion, Reebok. He owns like the IP to Shaquille O'Neal, Elvis Presley, Kevin Hart. And I asked him, his companies will do 40 billion this year across all of them. And I was like, man, you're a master brander, right? Like, what's your best marketing and branding advice? And he said one word: global. And when you look at what you've done with your company, you're not just stateside. You had mentioned you have an office here, I think DC,
South
New
America,
York, and then also Colombia, right? How important was that decision for you, thinking way outside of the box and leaving just the United States? I look at us, for example, we've gone out and done business in Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and Dubai, and it's like, there's just so many other markets out there that have even more of a demand, arguably, than the American companies, right, or the American markets per se. Like, how important was that decision for you to, let's say, go to Colombia, but then also what was the process like of setting business up, setting shop up out overseas?
Well, I think the underlying reason for that is you either got to grow or shrink. Like, there's no middle ground. So as an entrepreneur, there's nothing that's going to stay static and not grow or deteriorate. So for me, even after, like, in 2019, we took this explosion, our biggest competitor went out of business and we were exploding. It was like, okay, what's next? Like, you got to create the momentum for yourself. Like, to me, that's one of the biggest superpowers an entrepreneur has. You've seen it with Trump. That's what he does. He's an expert at momentum. Momentum. So it's the minute you have this milestone, it's what's next? And if you don't create that momentum, the momentum is going to work against you in the opposite direction. So for us, going to South America, which Colombia had to be the third largest sleep apnea population in the world, it was like, we got to be there. Literally, it was just that. We got to be there. Oh, what do we got to do? I don't know. Let's send somebody. So we sent somebody. And they figured out, okay, we got to do this, we got to do that, blah, 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 blah. A year later, I had 25 employees there. And it was just that fast. And we've only been in Medellin for 4 years. And we got almost 400 employees there.
Wow.
So it's
the majority of your team's actually out there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any big differences in doing business in the States versus like South America? Because I can imagine like UK and US is very different. Is it pretty similar?
It's similar. It's the same, if not better, I think. But look, you're living in a global economy. The US is only 5% of the population. We consume 30% of the world's resources, but we're 5% of the population. So doing business outside the U.S. is inevitable, right? Just because you need to get that talent pool in, right? But if I'm you guys, I'm thinking globally. Like, I'm not thinking because the economy's a scale. The staff and people and the quality you can hire in other countries is significantly cheaper.
So for us right now, I'd say the biggest thing that we're doing is people. Uh-huh. And I've come to realize that there's amazing people. You can get people on a LinkedIn job application, but also the best talent aren't people that are necessarily applying for a job. They're already working for a job for another company.
You got to steal them.
And I mean, honestly, I'd also love your advice on that. What's your best advice for getting talent from other companies that are already making great money? They have an opportunity.
It's that simple. I mean, Harvard did a study and they found that on a scale of 1 to 10, if there's 10 reasons why somebody would leave a company, pay is 7. It's not even in the top 5.
Interesting. What are those top reasons?
Purpose, goal attainment, mission. Are you making a difference? Those were like the top 4 or 5 things.
It's really interesting you say that, because even in the conversations that we've been having with talent that we're actually potentially going to get from different companies that are already working for a different person, is they're working at a company where they can't necessarily make as big of an impact because, it's a lot different working for a company that has 60 employees versus 500 or 2,000 employees. And it's going to be really hard for them to kind of grow into a leader because, the infrastructure is already set. They already have like all the systems, the leaders within the company, versus here, it's like, hey, I can actually grow into a leader and actually make an impact and take some of those lessons and principles that I've got from that bigger company and help grow this aspiring company to that level.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why. So part of kind of going back to the brand, that's why the brand is so important. Because you got to get people to buy into the brand. It's not the pay. It's that you're not going to lure a bunch of people because you're paying them, $10 more an hour or something like that. It doesn't necessarily work that way. Statistically, people they want to believe in the leadership. They want to believe in their manager. They want to know that there's a purpose to what they're trying to do. Are they making a difference? That's really what they're looking for. So you got to dial into that. That's really what that's what we dial into, So obviously with my social media, we get a lot of people that message us all the time. They're like, hey, I want to work for you, blah, blah, blah. And it's great. It's a great filtering process because they kind of know the ideology because they watch the videos and they see the posts and they're like, oh, I like this.
And you're even seeing that the biggest companies are now recruiting for their CEOs. Like, even you look at PayPal, they're hiring content strategists to pretty much put a face to the company.
Yeah.
Because the CEOs, especially, like, no one can name like the CEO, of these major corporations. But it's like, hey, now more than ever, especially just with the age of social media, they want to know who exactly they're working for.
Yeah. They want a symbol. People want a symbol. I mean, look, if you kind of take a step back, people want to be inspired. They want to feel motivated. Like, there's more to life than just money, right? Like, there's got to be some future. There's got to be some purpose. There's got to be some alignment of goals and all that stuff. And if you don't have that, it sucks. And I know a lot of people that have a lot of money and they're miserable people. They're miserable people. I mean, you can buy a bunch of stuff, but Look, at the end of the day, when I had $78, at the end of the day, as long as I knew I could eat, I was good. And you know, whether you're making $1 million a year or $10 million a year, whatever, you're still eating the same food.
Like we always ask a lot of the entrepreneurs that we interview, it's just, especially a lot of them that are in their like 50s and 60s and up.
Yeah.
Like we'll ask them like, hey, would you, you know, get rid of all your money to be 10 years younger? And a lot of them would say yes.
Yeah.
Or even just to play it again. Just to play the game again.
Yeah.
Like they would rather do that. Because that's like the time's more important to them. They just like playing it. There was a the CTO at Loom, the recording software Loom.
Yeah.
They sold for like $700 million. And then the CTO, like I guess like a couple months later, like put out a Reddit post where he was just like, I have no idea what to do with my life. And he's rich.
Yeah.
He's got all the money in the world. And he's just like
No purpose
anymore.
No purpose.
He's like, I don't have anything.
No, and I think it gets lost today, you know, in the world. I think people have become very materialistic about stuff, and you know, you see it all over social media. Like it's like, you know, if you don't have a Lamborghini and this and into that, and you're not a good person, or like you're not successful. I don't necessarily look at it that way, you know. And I think people need to get a little bit more of a reality check and be like, hey, what's really important here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a person that's probably a bus conductor in New York City that's probably very happy. He's got a great family, taking care of their kids. Their kids are productive. They don't do drugs. You know, they're productive people. And even to me, that's success.
Right. The people that follow you on social media, like we can see that you're a big family man.
Uh-huh.
How important was the decision of marrying the right woman and having that with you in business and life in general?
I mean, dude, that's the biggest decision you're going to make for your success in life. I mean, Warren Buffett said the same thing. The biggest single decision that you'll make in order to be successful is obviously what business you start or get into and who you marry. Because that person is either going to help you or significantly deteriorate your level of energy in life.
Was there ever a time where you went after the wrong woman?
Oh, a million times. Million times. But that's the experience that you have to gain, right? You're going to make some bad choices. That's why I'm saying it's the most important choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like finding the right person and making sure that they align with you is either going to make you or break you.
What have you seen in terms of successful entrepreneur? In our cases, you know, men, what are some of those complementary features or things that you look for in a partner that you think is essential to your success as you're building a big company and you know?
So I think what you have to look at, like the practical nature of it is this, like, okay, you guys are like, every day you're waking up, you're going to war. Okay. And you got people telling you no, you got people disagreeing with you, you got people telling you it's never going to happen, you got people telling you that now you got this person suing you and that person's causing an issue and this person's defaming you, and it's not even 2:00. Right? You still got the rest of the day to go. So you come home and then you find that the person that you're now spending, because you're spending most of your time at work, right? So you're very picky about who you're working around, and you're making sure you don't have negative people around you and all that stuff during the day. And then you get home, and home is a time for you to recuperate. It's like re-energizing your life force, so you can go back out again and go to war, because that's what you do, right? It's war. Business is war. It's a sport. There's no off season. I don't get 6 months to rest. You don't get 6 months to rest, do you? There's no off season.
No. Nope.
So you're getting up, you're going to war every day. So you need somebody at home that is aligned with you, that understands that, gets that, is not coming home and is upset that you didn't take out the trash. Fuck you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, you need somebody that like understands what you're trying to accomplish in life and understands that it's not the normal thing.
They're going to protect the peace.
And they're going to protect the peace, and they're going to add to your peace. They're going to add to the calmness and the tranquility, and is going to help you re-energize and be supportive and be understanding. That's what you need. If you got somebody that's now debating with you, being a Monday morning quarterback, trying to help you with this thing and that thing, and now is being critical of what you're doing because you're spending too much time at work. Well, now you're fighting at home and you're fighting out in the real world.
Your mental's all fucked up.
How does that work? It doesn't work. It doesn't work on any scenario. Does that work? Okay? So you don't want that. There's no, this bullshit of opposites attract, dude. They need to go like Back to the Future, like get in the freaking flux capacitor, fucking DeLorean, go back and like assassinate the person who said that, because it's not true. It's opposites don't attract. Opposites create problems. That's what it does. So you have to be very picky and find the right person that is aligned with you, that understands that, and then can support you, so you're not then going to war when you get home. Like I can tell you that. With Huli, that since we got married 6 years ago, I've never come to the office one day introverted because we had a fight. We've never had a fight. We disagree on stuff, but very respectfully. But we've never had a fight. I'm gonna come to work and we're fighting all day and I can't work. Like I haven't had that. So what does that mean? That means 365. I'm game on. If you're my competitor and you're fighting with your wife 75% of the time, I'm crushing you, dude. I'm crushing you because I have a competitive advantage that you don't have. And that's why it's so important.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't think young men before the age of 40 should be focused on getting married?
Hell no.
Why?
Hell no. Because, okay, the prime of your life really is going to be after like 45, 50. Okay, that's really going to be the prime. Because when you look at it, you're going to spend the next 10 to 15, 20 years building your teams. Okay? When I say your teams, not only your own interior team, because you're going to have people that are going to come and they're going to be like, man, I'm never leaving you. And then 3-4 years later, they're fucking out. Okay? You're going to have that. You're going to go through that. I got your back, bro. I'm there for you. All that, and then they're going to be gone. Okay? So you're going to create this team of 10, 15 people, and mark my words, okay? You'll call me in 5 years or 10 years, and that team's going to be down to maybe 4 or 5.
What did I say last night?
We were literally just having that conversation at dinner last night.
Yeah.
Is that there's going to be a star player, someone so close to us that was like, dude, I'm never going to leave you. I'm with you to the end.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be like ripping you open.
Yeah, exactly. It's just inevitable, right? And so you're gonna work on your internal teams, but then what you're also gonna work on is your external teams. See, you're gonna find out who are the right people I need to call. That takes some time. Like you get to a point that happens in your late 30s, early 40s, where now I know who I can call now. Like I got a guy. You know what I mean? Like this is the attorney I call for this. This is the guy I call for this. This is the guy that I know can help me with this. Like you got to assemble all those people, and they've also got to be vetted and trusted, and that takes time. You got to know that I got somebody I can call that it's like, dude, this guy is 1 a.m. You got to have that team. Who are those people? Are they the best of the best at that? You see what I'm saying? So that takes time. You don't get that until your mid-30s, early 40s, okay? By then, you've been around the block enough to be like, okay, now you're at a place where you kind of also financially have a better wherewithal, like, okay, I want to do this. I want to now bring in, it's kind of that idea of build your castle, then go find your queen. I incorporated that in my life. Like I didn't get married until I knew, like, okay, I'm good. I can produce what I need to produce, and I'm never going to have an issue with that, with the people that I'm taking care of, to where I don't have that added stress of then having to also take care of them, right? I didn't want that. And that takes that time, in my opinion. So it doesn't mean you can't get married. It means, look, you find somebody you really like, you stay with them. But I don't really think you as a guy, I don't think you hit that until your late 30s, early 40s.
Vic, we like to end these podcasts off with two last questions for our guests. Yeah. I'll start, and then Jack will end it off for us. But Vic, if me and you were to die tomorrow, and you could leave one more kind of guiding principle and message for the younger generation, what would that be?
Well, that's a heavy one, bro. It's a lot. Honestly, I would just say never quit, man. Like, you can't quit. I think that's the only reason people go wrong. Eventually you're gonna get there. Eventually, no matter what you're going through, you just cannot throw in the towel.
And Vic, if tomorrow it was all said and done, how would you want to be remembered?
I just want to. I'd like to be. I'd like to just be known as somebody that helped. You know, like I try to help as many people as I can. And so I'd like for people to be like, yeah, man, I came across the guy one time and he helped me.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, Vic, this is awesome, my friend. We appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, brother.
This, man. For everybody tuned in right now, guys, be sure to stop what you're doing, like, subscribe for amazing content and guests we have coming every week to the Hard Knocks podcast, as well as go down. You know, we're going to put the socials and the handles to all of Vic Tipnes' content. For those of you who's got some busted sleep, man, go check out Blackstone, because hey, we know how important sleep is for the entrepreneurs, man.
Very important.
Very important.
Hey, you might got a customer right here.
Come on, Jack. Come on, man. And lastly, everybody, guys, we're also going to put the link down in the description to become a member of the School of Mentors, which has become the #1 most powerful entrepreneur community and network in the world, where every week we give you direct access to our multimillionaire and billionaire network and host live calls with the 8, 9, and 10-figure entrepreneurs you see on the School of Hard Knocks. So we can't wait to see you on the inside. With that being said, we'll see you in the next episode.